So today's lecture is going to be presented by Andrew Cartwright. He is a professor of language center as well as an artist and poet. Please welcome him.
So I'm going to start off the presentation. I'm going to flash a piece of text on the screen, and I'm not going to talk during the text. You know, you're not supposed to do that because it divides your attention. But I'm going to play some music. Okay? Are you ready? So, an empty workshop space in Tilburg railway zone. And we see the vandalized lower window panes, and we see two empty soda bottles, a yellow and an orange sticker, almost as if they've been placed there, exhibited there for you. Or are they simply there by chance? Or, if you believe in these things, have the bottles sort of found their way together and scooched together on the sill of the window in an oddly decorative manner? You may know this building if you're familiar with the Tilburg railway zone. I think it's rather beautiful. Here's another detailed shot of the same section of window, a little bit further down to the left. We see the empty space. We see an empty workshop space. Kind of damaged paintwork, shards of glass. Will this space receive love again? Here's an interior at night in the Rose Street in Tilburg, Old North, near where I live. We see the room has been stripped back to the bare earth floor. All the floor joists and floor beams have been removed from the floor. I guess that the next stage will be to put them back or perhaps pour concrete down onto the floor. But before you pour concrete, you have to pack the earth very closely, make it level, and put down some foam, and various things need to take place. Maybe there will be underfloor heating. We see a ghostly stepladder and the reflection of the interior merging with the interior here. And on my nightly walks through Tilburg, I come across all kinds of windows telling me all kinds of different things. Here we see the solace of a Queen lyric. You may recognize the lyric. Do you recognize the lyric? Good. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see. But it's not a remarkable window. It's curtained, and there is this little message in the corner, a modest message from a grand song. This is the Jasmine Street in Tilburg. There you go. Here we see the photographer, my good self, taking a surreptitious glance through distorted glass. You can see the glass is kind of wavy and distorted. It reveals clothes draped over a table. Here. These trousers are not occupied by human legs, they're draped across the table. Here's some more clothes draped across a butterfly chair, which is a designer chair actually. It was first designed in Buenos Aires in 1938. And we see a figure seated at the table, his or her head in his or her hands, concentrating on something. I have to be careful when I take these photographs because I don't want to be a voyeur, but I am I guess, a voyeur. So sometimes I take the photograph just off to the side so they don't see me taking the photograph. Occasionally, the interior is empty, and I go right up to the window and take a photograph. But I never stay long, because I always feel slightly guilty. But hey, it's my research, so... yeah. And so we move on to the earlier house, the rubble. Here we see a yellow wheelbarrow, and we see a builder's bucket. Oh, I'm sorry. I pressed the wrong button. We see a yellow wheelbarrow and a builder's bucket and a stretch of cable, almost like a hangman's noose, the radiator, the rubble on the floor. These are now the occupants of this room. It's kind of a still life, isn't it? Or, you know, the interim occupants of this room until this room is completed. And the occupants can decorate the window as they wish. Here, in the very popular, what they call the Dwaalgebied, the area of Tilburg where you can drift around and get lost in these beautiful streets, we see a wonderful string blind, and the pattern of the string blind is sort of reflected on the wall below the windowsill. You can see those lines almost trying to repeat the blind. And a yellow chicken bending down, and a tiny little cute cactus. Cute plants are very popular in windowsills. As you can see, I took it from an angle. This was, I thought, was a very pretty window. And very often people want to say something with a window. They want to declare something. Peace now. Or relax. Nothing is under control. But this window is under control. The stained glass element adds an element of weight at the top of the window. Here's a split window frame. The bouquet of flowers, the leaf-printed tray on the one side, on the other side, a canvas for the internal gaze of the inhabitants of the house. So you kind of have people in the house looking whilst we're looking in. So there is a kind of dichotomy of looking going on there. This, I would say, is a well-appointed house. This area, in this street, the houses are relatively grand, I would say, even, and beautiful. And if you have a beautiful house, your window decoration is often beautiful. You see this a lot in the Netherlands. By the way, all my photographs, except for two, are from Tilburg. Oh, and a few from Amsterdam later on. And so we move on. Now. Here we see number 39 in the Willem II Street. A few doors down from the cinema over here, we see this house is listed. It has been declared protected. So it has this plaque with a little orange point in the right-hand corner. And it will say, monument, this house is protected. We see a beautiful window frame here, a stained glass element, ornate carvings, and an exquisite turquoise blue trio of vases, very elegant and dried flowers. And here we see something going on. I'm not quite sure what, it's some kind of tray perhaps? Sunflower, no, a daisy? Is that a daisy? It's some kind of flower anyway. But this, and a vertical letterbox. Very beautiful window. And I've been wandering around Tilburg for the last 3 weeks, taking photographs, sometimes at night, sometimes during the daytime. This is a student house. And generally student houses are the windows look fairly messy. So we see a poster, this is very common, a poster and a bit of curtain draped there and a strip of plastic rather poorly cut out there. Or perhaps it's peeling away from the window surface. And this advertises an event in last year in May. And here are two happy students. And we can see here the underside of the window frame there has some stains running across it. And you ask yourself, are these stains going to be cleaned anytime soon? And the answer is probably not. And so what? When I lived in a student house, we didn't care about the windows. Maybe you don't care about your windows. Perhaps it's a thing when you get older, you know. I remember I didn't care about gardens and interior design and sofas when I was in my 20s. I couldn't give two shits about those things. When you get into your 30s and 40s, you start buying rugs and sofas and caring about your floor and your windows. It's kind of a bourgeois thing. Am I a bourgeois? Maybe. Don't want to admit it, but I guess I should admit it. This is a window very close to where I live. We see the reflection of the railway here, railway line leading to other realities. Horses climb up as if they're seeking freedom as well, seeking to escape the frame. In the interior, a cat sleeps on the table. Unusual. Normally the cats are sleeping on the sill, or small dogs as well. Is this plate in two halves, or is it two separate plates? I'm not sure. I'll go by later today and have a look. And we see cans which have been repurposed. Tin cans repurposed as flower containers. This one needs some water. Nice pale-coloured sofa in the window. But I wouldn't like to sit there with my back to the window like that. The curtains are not there. There is no curtain. There is no blind. Unusual? Well, there is one school of thought that says that in the Netherlands, you don't see many curtains or blinds. I'm not sure I believe that anymore. I used to. The last time I gave the lecture, remember, this was my idea. My central idea was there are no curtains and no blinds, and the windows are open and there's symmetry. But I changed my view now. It's too simplistic. I do think, though, if you get above the rivers, if you get out of the Catholic South, then you probably do see more open or uncovered windows. But we'll get into that later on. Again, you can see I took the photograph from the side because I wasn't sure whether there was anybody in the room. Didn't want to make anyone angry. What would I have said had they come to me? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm doing a project. I'm going to be giving a lecture about Dutch windows. No, I'm not. I'm just, you know. This is a view from a Rotterdam hotel window. Windows give us fantastic views, don't they, sometimes? On a Saturday morning, looking towards the Erasmus Bridge. And I believe this tower is the tallest building in the Benelux. I think. That's what my son told me. And here's another view of Rotterdam. This relatively low block of flats compared to the buildings on the right and the left made me think perhaps this is the developers putting up social housing between the expensive flats. It looks slightly compromised compared to the flats on the other side. However, then again, I look at these windows, they look attractive to me because they kind of come in. They kind of zigzag a little bit, you know. And most of them are uncovered. But who's going to look in? Maybe people in other buildings. Perhaps the people don't mind being looked at. Perhaps they are exhibitionists. There is a Netflix film called Voyeurs. It's worth a watch. It's influenced by the Hitchcock film Rear Window. This is a beautifully arranged window. Again, this is in the dwaalgebied, the wandering around area, you know, loosely translated. We see this window has been so carefully curated. Look at this. There's the hippo. Or was it a rhino? I didn't get close enough to see. And then we see a number of forms of transport, a boat and a car and a motorcycle and then a van, and possibly put there by children. an elegant plant, and a poetry of boxes there. Some fluffy, cuddly toys. Beautiful windows. And which brings us to this window. They haven't fixed it. It's rather sad, really. I feel sorry for this window. What they need to do, it's a relatively new window, they need to hire a builder to come here and fill in these bits. Because you can see where they've cut out the bricks to put the window in, but they haven't filled the bricks in with new bricks and with mortar. Spacey, as the Dutch say. Shame, really. But it's not really a very loved window, either externally or internally. But that in itself makes it rather beautiful to me, rather melancholic. Through the poet's window, the house converses about immensity with the world. From Gaston Bachelet's wonderful word, The Poetics of Space. It's a phenomenological study of domestic spaces. Very interesting book. We move on. Now, this is a wonderful view of a street in Tilburg, the Hill Street, the Hovelstraat. And we see some great examples here of the Art Nouveau heritage, architectural heritage of Tilburg. We see these very ornate balconies here and here and here. We see the patterned elements, the stained glass. There are many houses in Tilburg, in the old centre, which are rather beautiful to look at if you take the time to find them. It's not like you're in Brussels or in Riga, which are Art Nouveau cities, possibly the two most extravagant Art Nouveau cities in Europe. But you do see these houses. This is my son's student house, and he just moved in, and he stuck himself on the mirror, on the window there. There he is, walking through space. And I told him yesterday, my God, you have a fantastic view out of your 3 windows. You lucky boy. René Magritte. The window fragments a sort of failed mimesis, and behind the broken window is the landscape, the reality, or is it the real landscape? In Matisse's painting, the view from the window fuses with the foreground in a celebration of vibrant color. Here in this painting by Mexican artist Leonora Carrington, there are dreamlike elements, surreal elements, and, excuse me, one too far. And the white horse suggests perhaps escape from confinement. This is a painting by British artist Howard Hodgkin, who exhibited in the Pont Museum in Tilburg about 10 years ago, if I remember rightly. He's famous for his window paintings. Highly abstracted. Windows as sacred objects, as in the stained glass. When we see stained glass elements in the houses in Tilburg, they take their inspiration from sacred art. This is the real thing. Leonardo da Vinci's painting, using window as a background framing device, but the proportions of this painting were rather odd. Window elements are rather small, and the baby's proportions are rather odd, too. And the window was used as a pictorial element in Renaissance art. And I guess you could say it symbolized a connection between the inner world and the outer world, a connection with landscape. Here we see that window paintings are often narrative paintings, and we see this a lot with the paintings from the Dutch Golden Age. This is a painting by Gerrit Dou, and this is fairly typical because of this kind of painting, because it is a young woman in a window, and it's full of cheeky symbolism. A lot of these objects are sexual symbols. The dead bird, the candle, and the overturned jug. There's phallic symbolism going on here. The colouring, the blushes on the cheeks. So windows were often places where little adventures took place. You see the depiction of women as domesticated creatures, domesticated individuals in these paintings, possibly trapped by routine and by the chores they had to carry out. And yet there was a suggestion of adventure waiting for them, assignations with lovers. This couldn't be depicted directly, but it was depicted through symbols. So it's an interesting area to explore. Here's a painting of a window by Edward Hopper. And to me, this expresses a sense of loneliness, a sense of isolation. Oh, we've gone too far. Here we see a depiction of a window from literature. This is the famous scene in Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, when Cathy's ghost visits in the dead of night, and the narrator drags her hand through the window and forces it onto the broken glass in a moment of extreme terror. And this is a still from Hitchcock's film Rear Window, which I referred to earlier. And here are more windows. The blind, just enough light to peer through, but again, the reflection is strong from the window. No possibility of looking through here. This is entirely private, and that's fine. Yes, this one. Two bottles, two dried plants. Again, I didn't get close enough. It's a rather blurred photograph. You can see the jacket there, my arm. I wasn't sure whether anyone could see me taking the photograph. But this, to me, is a very, very formal arrangement. Symmetrical vases, bottles. The plants tilt to the right. It's all very consciously done. It's not the kind of window I enjoy, but I respect it. There I am again. What do we see here? Various elements. It's pleasingly, the highest element is off-center, which is rather nice. But we see glasses, a cup, a candle. This is a candle-carrying glass. A little bit of a lamp element here, perhaps a lamp or a bit of stained glass. Post-it notes. Another candle. A slightly messy-looking plant. This is the money plant. The popular name is the money plant. And a cactus. It's pleasingly messy. And this was when it was snowing. I was coming home from work and I thought, I'll take some photographs. That's nothing to do with, this is just a random internet photograph of a Dutch family, probably in the 1950s. Curtains are open, but they have net curtains which can be closed to give privacy, but also to allow the light to come in. This is a cute little window with a series of low bricks, red, yellow, and green. Now, what could that mean? Do these colors signify anything? I think they do, don't they? Could be an allegiance there. And then we see the stained glass element. The curtains are open. This itself is a covering element and a decorative element. We see a lot of that in Dutch houses, stained glass. rather beautiful pair of cups here. This is the Boomstraat in Tilburg. This is the tree street, a very desirable residence. Put this song down a little bit. So these houses are always in demand. They're small, but they're really nicely situated. They're nice houses, nice bricks and doors and windows, well looked after. And yeah, we see a rather charming arrangement of teacups. We see the wooden handle there on top of the teapot. And the curtain itself is quite a nice texture to it. But this ugly piece of plastic, I don't know why people put that on the windows. Do you? I mean, privacy? Yeah, but it's so horrible. Would you put it on your? You have it on your window, do you? No. No. So I don't want to. Again, this is just a personal preference. Just a personal preference. Jumping again. We're jumping. There you are. Right. Okay. Here. Small elements. You can see really small elements. This is what they want here. These are pretty central, but they're looking away from the viewer. They're looking back into the house. Cactuses there in boxes. And this is some other decorative element. And here's a little angel, some kind of angel on the far left. So, again, a thoughtful composition. And a fairly pleasant Venetian blind done it with wooden slats there. We used to have one of those in our first house. Got dusty a lot. Hard to clean. What on earth is going on here? This one made me laugh. It's a pity the picture is blurred. The fish and the alien. Humor is appreciated on my walks when I see humorous windows. I see a lot of quirky windows in the Boom Street when I cycle home. I'm often looking to my right and to my left to see the quirky elements in the windows. Oh, there's me. I was trying to take a portrait of the window behind me because there was someone in the window, but I did it wrong and it took mainly me. These things happen when you're doing research. Here's a big stained glass element and three as a symmetrical arrangement of plants, highly composed window here, but a massive stained glass thing dominating the window. Okay, that's a personal choice of the person's window. A curtain as well, open, but that stained glass element really comes out and slaps you in the face, doesn't it? Yeah. Here is a very, very pure candle arrangement, completely symmetrical, central in the window here, fake candles, and curtains closed. You may not look into our house, but you may see our symmetrical candles. Please take a look at our village, our Christmas village, on the sill here, on the windowsill. This is a plastic window, which is a shame in the Boom Street, in the Tree Street. You can see it's a plastic window. Please take a look at our Christmas village. We've closed the blind. You may look in a little bit, but you must see our Christmas village, and here are some other Christmas elements. It is January the 24th, but we still have our Christmas decorations visible for you. Eula has been born. Welcome, dear Eula. A custom in the Netherlands is to announce the birth of your child on your window with something like this, perhaps, or indeed something like this, which is fairly unusual, I think, but this is more common. Congratulations, welcome to the world, Eula. You may not look into this house. You may see the black surround of this elegant window arrangement in the North Street in Tilburg, with the Art Deco stained glass here, and then this very beautiful shiny black window frame element, which is just as dominant as the window itself, which is fairly modest in size, very formal, and no, you may not look inside our house. Please look inside our house. Please look. 25 Bohm Street. We have a very impressive climbing plant, which is stretched over to the neighbor's house as well. They allow it to happen. The neighbors have a double strip of plastic, which is rather ugly, unfortunately. We have nice white blinds. They are open in the sense that you can see through the slats. The slats are completely horizontal, and you may see me sitting there working. This is our door. This is the Christmas wreath. It's still there. For privacy reasons, I've taken out the names. Very often people put the names underneath the number. If you look closely, you can see that I have a reproduction of a Vermeer painting here. Woman with a picture of milk, I think it's called, or girl with a picture of milk. And there I am with my computer working at home. I'm such a voyeur. I'm doing it for you. So Windows, let's bring it back to basics. So Windows obviously have a function, there's a utility function for Windows, and Windows obviously they are there to look in and to look out. You can look in them and look out them. You can they let air in, they let air out, and smells too, and also things can go in the window if it's open, and things can go out the window. Sometimes things go out the window and in the window when it's closed, but that's a different situation. So there is the utility element. So by all means, look at windows, like I said earlier on. Look at this wonderful example in Tilburg, in the Townstraat, the Garden Street. Look how beautiful this window is, and this window frame here. How decorative it is. And the whole street is full of wonderful houses. Further on down the street, we have one of the finest examples of Art Nouveau in the city, but I didn't take a photograph of it. I don't know why, but I didn't. And his Koppig lunchroom there. And here are some houses in other cities. We see particularly beautiful examples of Art Nouveau in the Netherlands. Beautiful balconies, beautiful stained glass. Lovely. Here is a wonderful example of a de style house in Tilburg. And it is no longer a bakery. It was originally a bakery, which you can see here. It's now a offices or a design studio. A more famous example of a de style building is the Rietveld Schroederhouse in Utrecht. We see similar elements of color and form in this house. Well worth a visit, but do make an appointment if you want to visit this house. Now, another theory about windows, and I think it's particularly pertinent to Dutch windows, is display. What are you displaying? Because things are very visible. The windows invite you to look. Now, there was one theory, and it's based upon the idea that the Netherlands is still heavily influenced by the Protestant religion of Calvinism. So this idea of we have nothing to hide, we are virtuous people, take a look, is often mentioned in the connection with windows. We have nothing to hide. And we are displaying that to you. But maybe that's one reason, but another reason could be that, you know, our houses need light. We want light. Especially with houses which are narrow and are deep, we need to get light in. So we have we have them uncovered. Or we want to show you that we are wealthy. We're doing well. Look at what we have, you know. Or look, we are interesting people. Or look, we are artistic people. Take a look. We have nothing to hide. We are eccentric. We are just like everybody else, perhaps. we have the same kind of blind and the same kind of 2 plants in the center, just like everybody else. That's also a very Dutch thing. We are normal, right? We're not different, we're normal, and that's fine. Or, look, we belong to this demographic, you know? We are students. We are members of this political party. Or don't look. Maybe another message which you can receive from a Dutch window is, look or don't look. We don't care. We don't care. And that's fine. Don't look. The curtain is closed, the blind is down, the shutters are shut. Don't, look, but you can't see anything apart from the curtains. Oh, this is a house in Maastricht, in the south of the Netherlands. It looks so stern and serious. But I think Maastricht is a very joyful place. But this house looks so severe. Yeah, it's probably from the 1950s, reflecting a certain style of architecture which was no longer very decorative after the 1930s stylistic excesses. So, yes, we're talking about things in and things out of the window, practical things. Bringing some grapes into the window. Although I suspect that these grapes are also a kind of clue to some romantic things going on. Look at the look on the woman's face. She's inviting something. That look on her face. Come in, I have grapes. And you know what grapes means, don't you? Or maybe big, heavy stuff. Houses, we do see houses in Tilburg with these hooks. Not many, but you do see them. These joists are mounted here to allow heavy items to be pulled up because the stairway is too narrow and too steep. So if you have beds and cupboards, you pull them up by hook using this system here. And if the house is leaning forward slightly, it prevents the things bashing against the house when they're pulled up. So sometimes you see houses leaning over in old Dutch cities. Yeah, to get things through the window. People. Perhaps that's not desirable. But maybe you want to invite someone into, but not a burglar. Waste. Things in, things out, waste. That's a rather unfortunate place to be at the time when that waste is being thrown out. But many cities in the old days were dirty and smelly, and possibly because of those lot of waste, human waste, which was chucked out the window. But one thing that was always kept clean in the Netherlands was the front doorstep. You scrub it clean. And here's an example from a painting. It's double asses. It's 4 butt cheeks shooting out of a window. It's by Bruegel. Peter Bruegel the Younger, the painting The Netherlandish Proverbs, sold for nearly £6.5 million in 2018 at Christie's in London. Wonderful painting. There we see the toilet detail there, and all kinds of things going on in windows. Not a dull window in sight. Every window is full of activity, which is fantastic to see. Yeah. I was hugely inspired when I first visited Amsterdam because I was amazed by all the windows, all the bright windows, most of them open, uncovered, and I just looked around me in absolute amazement at what was going on. I'd never seen anything like it. So I was completely transfixed by this architectural openness of the windows. Why so many windows? Well, one reason could be that the front of the house or the width of the houses were taxed. You had to pay tax on the width of your house, so houses were built narrow and deep. Also, windows were lighter, and because the ground was soft, windows were a better option. And of course, another reason is that they let in light. If you have a narrow house, a deep house, you want to let in as much light as possible. In the 17th century, with the increase in wealth from all of the trading, and the colonial activities, then the really rich people built houses which were much wider. You can see these on the Herengracht in Amsterdam, which is the most expensive of those, or the grandest of the canals in Amsterdam. And my clicking has not been very smooth, has it? No, it's okay. It doesn't matter. But again, sometimes you do see what would seem to be the quintessentially open Dutch window. Open in the sense, not that it's open to the air, but that there's no curtains or blinds. What? I guess this couple, I don't know, there's a lot to see. Are they showing us? They want us to see, look, we've got this wonderful art. We have some funky furniture. We have some funky objects here in the home. We are ourselves good to look at. We've got some art on the... Look, take a look, take a look. Look, we've got this ornament in there. We've got this, we've got that. We've got this nice plant at the back. We've got lovely stained glass. Take a look at what we have, what we are. We're not ashamed of what we are. We're doing nothing wrong. All of those things. Or it could be they getting some new curtains and they just took their old curtains down and they haven't fitted the new curtains yet. But my feeling is that this is how they have their house. Personally, I don't like a house at night when you can see, I don't want people looking in, so I like to close the curtains. And sometimes my wife says, why are you closing the curtains? It's still light. I say, darling, I want some privacy. I don't want people to see I'm watching this shit Netflix show. Please close the blinds. Now we have blinds, which we have a nice light blind. We have it halfway down the window. And then we have curtains, heavy black curtains, which we close. Yeah. And, but the beauty of some of the windows, this is a particularly beautiful example. Yes, the blind is down, but there is an illustration, there's an artwork probably done by a child in the windows, pasted on the window for us to see. And there's a rather beautiful, romantic-looking, straggly plant sort of coming across the glass there, and the frame is painted a dark color. I just thought that was very beautiful. So I took a photograph of it for you, and for me. And, and again, it doesn't have to be a tight, I like windows to be messy sometimes. Look how messy the net curtain is. And it's kind of, I don't know, I like that. I like the fact that it's a bit messy and a bit dirty. I find that refreshing. I don't want everything to be clean and tidy and symmetrical. But I respect the clean and tidy windows, but I like to have variety for my eye. Here is a quotation from a paper by Nomi de Bruin. We're in a field. It's dark outside, and the only sounds are of the trees and grass rustling in the wind. A vigilant light is visible from a house window. It stands out in the darkness. We are drawn to it. The point of interest is the window itself and its capacity to show both the exterior as well as the interior world. The window is the point where both realities coexist. And this is my window. There I am. We fitted this window with two horizontal elements because it wanted to reflect a sort of slightly Art Deco idea of horizontal. We have a curtain, it's open. There's the stained glass element which was already there from the previous owners. The previous owners built an iron curly-whirly thing for holding plants, which we're rather pleased with because it's an extra element, because the brickwork of the house is boring. It's not the original brickwork. The house dates from 1910, but at some point somebody fitted a clean new brick facade, so the old facade is gone, which is a bit of a pity, but maybe it was too damaged, I don't know. And but you can't see in because of the reflect. The window reflects the outside. You have to go really, and there are no lights on. So to look into our house, you have to really go up close. And I would say, if you have to look in, but I mean, it's kind of a bit weird to get that close to look in. Yeah. And I think that we will finish the talk there. I'll take questions.
Maybe what specific things actually catch your eye, or what do you look out for when we're looking for windows? Or are there at all things like that?
It depends where I am. If I'm in a part of town where the houses are of better quality, you know, several stories high, then I might look for window frames and stained glass elements. But if I'm in a regular suburban area, then I'll just look to see if there's anything on the windowsill. And I often want to see if they have standard. If it's not standard, oh, it's not standard. I'm more drawn to it if it's not standard. Oh, there's two vases. I've seen it before, so then I want to see, what have you got, you know? Is it non-standard? Then I'm more interested in it. Good question, actually. I mean, you can't really, when you look at things, some things just grab you, don't they? They kind of grab you. And then you look at those things, it might be, there's a crack in the window or something. Or a dog doing this. Yeah.
So how long have you actually been looking into people's windows? When did that start?
About 15 years. Before that, I wasn't really aware of it on any conscious level. So, but then after one day I came home and I said, wow, there's so much symmetry here. And I became slightly obsessed with symmetry. And I kind of was, oh, I hate this symmetry. I was moaning about how boring and symmetrical everything was. Maybe I was a bit depressed at that time. About 15 years or so, yeah. But I tell you, I love it. I love to go around town and look at the windows. It just inspires me. I use it kind of as a meditative technique, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
What's one of the biggest things you learned about the Dutch people from watching their windows?
I think it's that my feeling is that the Dutch, that windows are important. I mean, they're important for everybody because of their function, but I think they're also important as, they're almost like little shrines of things that they value. And I think some people place a lot more important. For some people, a window just has to be neat and tidy and clean with a standard 2 vases. And it's symmetrical, done. But for other people, they kind of arrange things to, I find it rather moving that they arrange these objects to represent values, to create a little world there, a little altar. It's almost a quasi, I mentioned Calvinism, but it's a kind of quasi-spiritual thing to have this window there, a little altar, I feel, yeah.
So, I mean, 15 years is a really long time. So I was wondering, were there certain kinds of windows where the inevitable awkward experiences were like the glances, the eye contact, or something like that?
Last time, I had these slides about 10 years ago, and I had one, because I went to take a photograph, and that was this young man with 2 kids at the table, and the guy was like this. So I went, knocked on the door. I'm sorry. I don't mean to shock you, but I'm doing a project. Is it okay if I keep this photograph? And I showed him the photograph. And he said, oh yeah, it's okay. I said, sorry for shocking you. But I'm very discreet. I'm kind of sneaky. I'm like a ghost. I just sort of like that. And a lot of my photographs are not quite in focus because I don't spend long there. I just like click, and I move on. Yeah.
Any other question somewhere? No?
Just one thing.
Yeah.
This area of study is, you can find quite a lot of papers been written about it, both at the academic level. Irene Sira, oh, what's her name? I think her name is Siradad or Siradad, and she is a scholar at, is it Utrecht? But there's a paper she wrote about windows, very interesting. And a lot of blogs about windows by international people or people who have come to live here and who are amazed by the windows and how they can see inside and how it sort of feels so open. So you can see a lot of it on the internet, but also in academic research into anthropology and sociology and so forth.
I have a question for you. You're from the UK originally.
Yep.
Been living in the Netherlands for, I don't know,
27 years.
7 years now. So this is a lecture in our series Introducing the Netherlands, and it's about the windows, what they tell. Could you do the same in the UK?
About
the same research you've done and the same stories about.
Oh, I mean,
windows?
I could talk about the UK, and I've never really thought about window. I guess I did when I was living in London, because then I was always thinking, oh, I wish I could have that house. You know, look inside and see the wooden floor and the bookshelves and oh shit, they've got a nice house. Oh, I wish I had that, you know. But I could do it. I'm interested in, I'm particularly interested in art history as well. So, and architecture. I'm fascinated by houses and why they're built and how they're built and how they are changed and modified over time, and the window is an element of that. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
could be done.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do that another time. If there are no other questions, seeing if there's no hands raised, then thank you very much, Andrew, for this lecture. This quite unusual lecture, maybe, because it's not with a lot of research that you refer to from scientists, but it was just your experience and your way of looking in the Netherlands to the windows. And I'm sure that some of you, when you go home, you always have another way of looking at all those windows, and you maybe also, if you're living in Tilburg, you will recognize some of the houses. I did.
What's in your windowsill?
Yeah, you can't see in them, sorry.
Private, yeah, okay.
You have to go close and then you can see. Yeah. So there are only things that I want to look at from the inside out. Yeah. So.
But some people, they want you to see, don't they?
Yeah.
It's really, yeah.
Yeah. And I also like to look into the houses and see, wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Of course, I think a lot of people have a little of this voyeuristic thing in them, and it's nice to see how other people live. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that being said, thank you very much, Andrew, and for all of you, yes, give him a applause.